The wind has not stopped. It rarely does. You wake before the sun, though there is no real sunrise to see yet. The world outside your small stone cottage is still dark blue, almost black, the kind of blue that belongs only to the sea before morning. The wind presses gently against the walls. It hums through the cracks in the stone. It has not stopped. It rarely does. You lie still for a moment beneath heavy wool blankets. They are coarse but warm. The air inside the room is cold enough that you can see your breath when you exhale. The sea is somewhere below the cliffs. You cannot see it, but you can hear it. A slow, distant surge against rock. Then retreat, then surge again. The rhythm never changes, and neither do you. You sit up slowly. Your boots wait beside the bed, thick socks first, then the boots. You lace them carefully. There is no rush. There is never any rush here. Outside this island, ships may hurry. Sailors may panic. Storms may gather without warning. But here, you move at the pace of wind and tide. And both are patient. The kettle waits on the small iron stove. You kneel to coax the embers back to life. A little more coal, a careful breath. A faint orange glow returns. The kettle is filled from yesterday's barrel of collected rainwater. Fresh water is precious here. Supply boats come only occasionally, sometimes once a month. Sometimes longer if the weather refuses them. The wind has not stopped. It rarely does. You sit beside the stove while the kettle warms. The cottage is small. One table, one chair, one narrow bed. Hooks on the wall for your coat. A shelf for ledgers and tools. Everything has its place. It must. There is no one else here to move it. Lighthouse keepers often work in isolation for weeks at a time. Sometimes months. Some towers have 2 or 3 men. This one has only you. And the wind. The kettle begins to whisper, a soft tremble before the boil. You pour the water into a tin cup. Tea leaves steep slowly. Steam curls upward in the dim light. You hold the cup between your hands. The warmth spreads into your fingers. Outside, the sea continues its steady breathing. You sip. Slowly, there is no rush. There is never any rush here. On the table beside you lies the weather log, a thick ledger bound in worn leather. Every morning before you climb the tower, you write. Date. Wind direction, cloud cover, sea condition. It is simple, but it must be done. You dip your pen in ink. The scratch of nib against paper is the only sharp sound in the room. You write wind, westerly, strong, unchanged. You pause, you listen. The wind has not stopped. It rarely does. You write that too. In the early 1800s, most Scottish lighthouses still relied on oil lamps. Electricity is something distant cities experiment with. Here, there is only flame. Before paraffin, there was whale oil. Thick, heavy, smelling faintly of the hunt. Now improved oils burn cleaner, but still they require tending, trimming, refilling, watching. The light does not care that you are tired. The light must turn. Every night, without fail, you finish your tea. The cup is empty. You rinse it with a small splash of water, carefully. Nothing is wasted. You stand and reach for your coat. Thick wool, heavy. Salt has stiffened its edges over time. You pull it around your shoulders, button by button, gloves next, then your cap. You are dressed the same way every morning. And every morning feels the same. Dark blue sky, cold air, the wind pressing at the door. The wind has not stopped. It rarely does. You open the cottage door. The sound of it is swallowed instantly by the sea. The lighthouse tower stands beside you, tall, whitewashed stone, solid against the cliff. It has stood here through storms that broke ships in half. It will stand through many more. You step outside. The air bites your face, salt and cold. The horizon is only beginning to pale, a thin line of gray where sky meets water. You pause. You look toward the tower. Soon you will climb, but not yet. For a moment longer you simply stand, listening. The wind hums around the stone. The sea moves in darkness. And the light above you, though dimmed by morning, has not stopped turning. It rarely does, and neither do you. Soon you will climb the spiral stairs. Soon, you will polish the lens. Soon, you will trim the wick. But for now, the wind has not stopped. It rarely does. And the day begins exactly as it did yesterday. And as it will tomorrow, you close the cottage door behind you. The wind presses against your back for a moment, then moves on. The tower door is heavier, thick wood, iron hinges, salt-worn handle, you pull it open. The air inside is different, cooler, still. Stone holds the night longer than the sea does. You step inside, and the world becomes vertical. The spiral staircase curves upward along the inner wall. Stone steps, worn smooth in the center. Some towers in Scotland were designed by men like Robert Stevenson, who believed a lighthouse must endure what ships could not. Stone, weight, balance, built to resist the sea. You place your hand against the inner wall. Cold, you begin to climb step after step. The sea waits below. Your boots echo softly, a slow rhythm. Stone, 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 you do not rush. There is no need. The light is still fading from the night, but not yet gone. You climb. 1, 2, 3. You count them quietly in your mind. 4, 5, 6. You have counted them many times before. The number does not change. The wind has not stopped. It rarely does, step after step. The sea waits below. The air inside the tower smells faintly of oil, of metal, of salt carried upward through narrow cracks in the stone. There is always salt. It clings to everything here. Even the stairs taste faintly of it if you run your tongue across your lips. You do not. But you notice, you always notice, step after step. The sea waits below. The staircase curves. You cannot see the top yet. Only more stone, more turning, more climbing. The outside world fades. The wind becomes distant. Now you hear only your breathing, and your boots, and the faint ticking of the mechanism above. It never fully rests, not even during daylight, step after step. The sea waits below. Halfway up, a small window opens toward the ocean. A slit in the stone. You pause, you look through it. The horizon is lighter now. Gray-blue water stretching endlessly. No ships in sight, which is good. Nothing happening is good. You continue, step after step. The sea waits below. The lantern room above begins to glow faintly, not from flame, from morning. Light slips through the glass panels and down the stairwell. Soft, pale. You smell more oil now, stronger. The scent of last night's burn still lingers. You reach the final curve. Your hand brushes the railing. Iron, cool and slightly damp from condensation. Step after step. The sea waits below. At the top, you push open the inner hatch. The lantern room greets you with quiet brightness. Glass surrounds you on all sides. Panels held together by metal ribs. In the center stands the lens. Tall, layered, silent. This is the heart of the lighthouse. In the early 1800s, many Scottish towers began using what is called the Fresnel lens, named after Augustin Jean Fresnel. Before this invention, lighthouse lights were weak, simple flames behind thick glass. They scattered light in all directions, much of it wasted, but the Fresnel lens changed that. Instead of one thick, heavy piece of curved glass, it uses many thin sections, rings, layered like the inside of a tree trunk. Each ring bends light, gently, carefully, redirecting it forward, concentrating it, turning a small flame into a beam that can travel miles. You step closer to the lens. You see your reflection repeated in its curved surfaces, distorted, fragmented. The glass is cool to the touch. When the lamp burns at night, the light strikes these rings. Each ring bends it slightly. Together, they focus the glow into a powerful, narrow beam. Instead of shining everywhere, it shines outward, across water, across darkness, across danger. This is how lighthouses saved thousands of ships, not by shouting, not by moving, but by standing still and bending light. Step after step brought you here. The sea waits below. You circle the lens slowly, checking for dust, for soot, for salt crystals left by yesterday's wind. Even a thin layer can dull the beam. You lean close. You breathe softly against the glass. It fogs for a moment, then clears. The mechanism beneath the lens rests quietly, a clockwork system. Weights and gears, at night you wind it, the weights slowly descend, and as they fall they turn the lens slowly, steadily, so the beam sweeps the horizon again and again and again. You look down through the center opening of the stairwell. The spiral falls away beneath you, stones circling downward. You climbed all of it, step after step. The sea waits below. The morning light grows stronger now. The lamp from last night has burned low. Soon you will extinguish it fully. Soon you will clean the glass. Soon you will prepare for another day of waiting. You rest your hand lightly against the lens. The wind presses faintly against the outer glass panels. It has not stopped, it rarely does. You breathe in. Oil, salt, stone, you breathe out. Step after step brought you here. The sea waits below, and tonight you will climb again. Morning has fully arrived now. Not bright, not warm, but visible. Gray light spreads across the sea beyond the glass. Inside the lantern room, everything is still. The flame from the night is nearly gone. A small, tired glow beneath the tall lens. You step closer. You lower the wick slowly. The flame shrinks, flickers, disappears. A thin curl of smoke rises upward. You watch it fade. Silence returns. You remove your gloves carefully. From a small wooden box, you take a clean cloth. Soft, dry, folded twice. You approach the first glass panel. Salt mist has left a faint film across its surface. Not dramatic, not obvious. But it is there. You press the cloth against the glass. Gently, polish, turn, wipe, again. The cloth moves in slow circles. You do not rush, you cannot. Every mark must be lifted. Even the smallest smear can scatter light. You polish until the glass reflects the sea clearly. You move to the next panel. Polish, turn, wipe, again. The wind taps lightly against the outer glass. A reminder, it has not stopped, it rarely does. You work methodically around the room. Each panel, each seam, each metal rib between them. Salt gathers where surfaces meet. You wipe along the edges. Polish, turn, wipe, again. Next, you step toward the lens itself. The Fresnel rings rise before you like stacked halos of glass. Delicate, precise, powerful, dust settles here too. Fine soot from the night's burn. Even clean burning oil leaves something behind. You lean closer. You see it, a faint gray veil across the lower rings, almost invisible, but not to you, never to you. Polish, turn, wipe, again. You move from ring to ring. Each thin section of glass bends light differently. Each must remain clear. The cloth glides carefully across the ridges. The glass hums faintly under your touch. You breathe slowly. In, out, the sea waits below. Before paraffin oil became common, lighthouse lamps often burned whale oil, thick, heavy. Harvested from long voyages across cold oceans. It burned steadily, but it smoked. The smoke rose and curled inside the lantern room. It left soot behind, on glass, on metal, on your lungs. Later, paraffin oil began replacing it. Cleaner, brighter, more reliable, but even paraffin leaves traces. Even clean flame leaves shadow, and shadow dulls the beam, which is why you polish, turn. Wipe again, you kneel beside the lamp base. The reservoir must be checked, oil level measured. You lift the small hatch. The scent rises immediately, sharp, familiar. You peer inside. Enough remains for tonight, but you top it up anyway. Careful pouring, no spills. Oil is precious. Supply boats come rarely. Sometimes storms delay them for weeks. You cannot waste what you are given. You secure the lid, tight, clean, polish, turn, wipe again, now the wick. You lift the burner assembly gently. The wick is blackened at its edge, charred from steady burning. If left uneven, it will smoke more heavily tonight. If left jagged, it will flicker, and flickering light is weaker light. You take small trimming scissors. You cut carefully, straight across, even. Measured, a clean edge means a clean flame. You brush away loose ash, blow softly. Tiny black flecks drift downward. You reassemble the burner, steady hands, slow breath, again. Precision matters here. The sea does not forgive mistakes. If soot gathers too thickly, the beam dims. If the wick burns unevenly, the flame falters. If oil runs low, darkness follows. And in darkness, ships drift. Reefs wait patiently. The ocean does not shout, it simply takes, which is why you polish, turn, wipe, again. You stand and circle the lens one more time. Checking your work. The glass now catches the morning light cleanly, sharp, clear. You see your reflection repeated again and again in the curved rings, fragmented, quiet, unseen by sailors far away. But essential. The wind presses softly against the glass. It has not stopped. It rarely does. You fold the cloth neatly, return it to its box, place the scissors beside the burner. Everything back in its place, everything ready. Tonight, when darkness returns, you will light the wick. The flame will rise, the lens will bend it, the beam will turn. But for now, the glass is clean. The wick is trimmed, the oil is full. You rest your hand lightly against the lens. Cool, smooth, steady, polish, turn, wipe again. And tomorrow, you will do it all again. The morning work is finished. The glass is clean. The wick is trimmed. The oil rests quietly in its chamber. Now there is only daylight, gray, soft, uncertain. You stand inside the lantern room and look outward. The sea stretches in every direction, steel blue beneath a pale sky. No sails, no smoke, no movement except the slow rise and fall of water. You scan the horizon, slowly, left to right, right to left, again. The wind has not stopped, it rarely does. A gull cries somewhere below, distant, lonely. You watch the waves break against dark rock at the base of the cliff. These rocks are why you are here. Jagged reefs hidden just beneath the surface. From a ship's deck, they look harmless. From below the waterline, they are knives. Scotland's coast is beautiful from land. From sea, it is patient and dangerous. You scan the horizon. Nothing moves, nothing changes, nothing happens. And that is good. You descend the spiral stairs slowly, step after step. The sea waits below. In the cottage, you open the weather ledger once more. The ink has dried from your morning entry. You dip the pen again. Midday observation. Wind steady, sea moderate swell, visibility fair. You write neatly, carefully. These logs may one day be read by inspectors, or perhaps no one at all. Still you write, because routine is a kind of anchor, and anchors keep things from drifting. Nothing happens, and that is good. You sit at the small wooden table. From a cloth bundle you remove bread, dense, dark. You break it in half, slowly. A small pot of broth rests near the stove, left from yesterday. You warm it gently. Steam rises in thin threads. You eat without hurry. Bread, broth, tea, simple, enough. Lighthouse keepers do not feast. They maintain, they endure, they repeat. Outside, the wind hums along the stone. It has not stopped. It rarely does. In the 1800s, thousands of ships passed along the Scottish coast every year. Fishing vessels, merchant ships, naval patrols. Many never reached their destination. Reefs like these were responsible for countless wrecks, hidden teeth beneath gray water. Before reliable lighthouses, sailors relied on memory, on stars, on guesswork. Fog erased stars. Storm erased memory. Guesswork sank hulls. Records from the early 19th century show hundreds of shipwrecks along Britain's coasts in a single decade. Wood splintered, cargo scattered. Lives lost in cold water. You look out the window again. The reefs remain where they have always been. Unmoving, unforgiving, nothing happens. And that is good. Afternoon light shifts slightly. Clouds pass overhead. The lantern room above you remains quiet. The mechanism rests. The lens waits. You step outside briefly. The wind presses against your coat. Gulls circle lazily. You walk a short path along the cliff. Carefully. The ground is uneven. Grass bends in constant motion. The sea below crashes, retreats, crashes again. Its rhythm never changes. And neither does yours. Isolation stretches here like the horizon, wide, endless. Some keepers work in teams, they rotate shifts, they speak, they share stories. You have only the wind and the gulls and the turning of pages in your ledger. Weeks can pass with no visitors. Supply boats come when weather allows, sometimes late, sometimes not at all. Loneliness settles slowly, not sharp, not dramatic, just steady, like the tide. You return inside, you sit again, nothing happens, and that is good. You check the clock on the wall, its ticking is soft, measured. Afternoon moves without urgency. You sharpen your pencil, you reorganize small tools, you check the oil container once more. Everything is where it should be. Precision prevents panic. Routine prevents error. You look out the window again, scan the horizon, left to right, right to left again. No sails, no smoke, no distress, nothing happens, and that is good. The gray daylight begins its slow descent toward evening. Not yet sunset, but softer now, more muted. You know what comes next. When the sky darkens, you will climb again. You will light the wick. You will wind the gears. You will begin the turning, but not yet. For now, you wait, you listen. The wind hums against the stone. It has not stopped. It rarely does. You scan the horizon one more time. Nothing happens, and that is good. Because if something did, it would mean trouble, it would mean reef, it would mean wreck. So you sit, and you wait. And the sea continues breathing below, and the afternoon passes quietly into evening. The afternoon light fades earlier than expected. Clouds gather low over the horizon, not dramatic, not sudden. Just thickening, layer by layer, gray over gray. You notice it first in the way the sea changes color, from steel blue to charcoal. The wind shifts slightly, stronger now, pressing harder against the cottage walls. It has not stopped. It rarely does, but it has deepened. You step outside and look west. Clouds roll in like folded wool, heavy, patient. The air tastes sharper, colder. A storm is forming, not unusual, not rare, but never ignored. You turn toward the tower. Tonight the light must burn brighter, longer, steadier. Storms do not forgive hesitation. Inside the lantern room, the glass panels tremble faintly, not breaking, just reminding you. The sea below grows louder. Waves strike rock with more force now. You walk to the oil reservoir, open the hatch, check the level again. Enough for one night, but storms can last longer. You fetch an additional canister, heavy. You pour carefully, slowly, no spills. The scent sharpens in the room. Oil is preparation. Oil is time. Oil is safety. You secure the cap tightly. Wipe the rim clean, polish, turn, wipe again. Outside, thunder murmurs somewhere far beyond sight. You move toward the base of the lens mechanism. Beneath the lamp is the clockwork system. Large gears, iron teeth. A vertical shaft disappearing downward through the center of the tower. At its base hangs a heavy weight, like the inside of a giant grandfather clock. In the 1800s, many lighthouses rotated their beams using clockwork. Not electricity, not motors, gravity. The keeper would wind the system, lift the weight upward. As the weight slowly descended, it turned the gears. The gears turned the lens turned the beam. Simple, precise, relentless. You kneel beside the winding handle. Metal worn smooth by repetition. You grip it firmly. You begin to turn. The gears respond with a low, steady sound. Not loud, not harsh, just present. You wind the gears, slowly, steadily. The weight rises within the shaft. You feel resistance, then release, resistance, then release. You wind the gears, you listen to them breathe. The mechanism ticks softly as it tightens. Each rotation stores energy, energy that will become motion, motion that will become light sweeping across black water. You wind the gears, you listen to them breathe. Outside, rain begins. At first, just a scatter against glass, then heavier. The lantern room darkens as clouds thicken overhead. You continue turning, steady pace. No rush. Storms are loud, but you remain quiet. When fully wound, the system will rotate for several hours before needing attention again. On calm nights, you wind it once. On storm nights, you check it often. Because if the beam stops turning, ships cannot judge distance. A fixed light can be mistaken. A rotating light speaks clearly. It marks identity. This tower has its own rhythm, its own interval. Sailors memorize it. Count seconds between flashes. Trust it. You wind the gears. You listen to them breathe. The wind now strikes the tower with force. A deep, hollow sound. Glass rattles slightly in its frame, but the structure holds. Stone laid thick, designed to endure. Men like Robert Stevenson built these towers to survive what ships could not, storm after storm. Year after year, you stand, you test the rotation gently. The lens begins to move, slow, graceful, even, one full turn, then another, smooth, no catching, no grinding, you wind the gears. You listen to them breathe. The storm grows louder. Rain streaks sideways across the glass. Waves crash below with heavier force. But inside the lantern room there is order, preparation, routine. You check the wick again. Still clean, still trim. You check the oil, full. You check the glass panels, clear, nothing left to chance, because storms do not negotiate. They arrive, they strike. They pass, the light must remain. You place your hand briefly against the rotating frame. Feel the subtle vibration. The system is alive now, ready, waiting for flame. Outside, lightning flickers beyond thick clouds. The horizon disappears. The sea and sky merge into one dark mass. Soon, night will fall, and when it does, ships will search for your beam. You wind the gears, you listen to them breathe, again and again, and the storm gathers fully around you. Night does not fall quickly here, it thickens, slowly, cloud by cloud. The last gray of afternoon dissolves into deep blue, then into black. The storm covers the horizon completely. Sea and sky become one moving darkness. Inside the lantern room, you stand beside the lamp. The wick is trimmed, the oil is full, the gears are wound, everything waits. So do you strike the match, a small sound, sharp, brief. The flame trembles at the tip of the wood. You lower it carefully toward the wick. For a moment, nothing. Then a faint glow, a breath of orange. The wick darkens. The flame hesitates. Then steadies, it grows slowly. Not dramatic, not bright, just patient. You adjust the wick slightly higher. The flame strengthens, clear, clean, alive. The first light touches the inner rings of the lens. It bends, multiplies, focuses. What was once a small flame becomes something larger, something directed. You step back. The mechanism engages. The weight begins its slow descent inside the tower. The gears whisper into motion. The lens begins to rotate, slowly, gracefully. The beam forms, and it sweeps outward into the storm. For a moment the glass fills with light, then darkness, then light again. The beam cuts across rain and wind, across black water, across hidden reefs. The light turns, again, again. From far out at sea, a ship rolls in heavy swell. Its deck slick with rain, its sails strained. Men lean against ropes and railings. They scan the darkness, searching, counting, waiting. Then a flash across the horizon. Not lightning, not random, measured. White, strong, the light turns again, again. A sailor squints through rain. He counts silently. 1, 2, 3. The beam returns. Recognition settles in. The reef lies to port. Safe passage to starboard. He adjusts the course. He does not know your name. He does not see your face, but he trusts your rhythm. Inside the tower, you stand alone, watching the beam pass across the glass panels in steady intervals. The storm batters the stone. Rain streaks sideways across the lantern room. The wind hums louder now. It has not stopped. It rarely does, but the light remains steady. You listen to the gears beneath you, soft, consistent, breathing. You wind the system again, just slightly. A precaution, you listen to it breathe. Then you stand still once more. The beam sweeps across the sea, briefly illuminating waves as they rise and fall. For a fraction of a second, white foam glows like silver. Then darkness returns. The light turns, again. Time becomes measured in revolutions, not minutes, not hours, just rotations. Flash. Dark, flash, dark. You no longer feel the storm as threat, only as background. The tower does not tremble. The mechanism does not falter. The flame burns clean because you prepared it. Because you polished, turned, wiped, again. Another distant ship sees the beam, smaller this time. Fishing vessel returning late. They see the sweep. They correct their path slightly, avoiding rocks hidden beneath violent water. They will reach harbor. They will unload nets. They will sleep in dry beds. They will never know the spiral stairs you climbed. They will never know the oil you poured, the wick you trimmed, the gears you wound. You are unseen, but essential. Hours pass. The storm continues. The beam continues. The weight slowly lowers within the tower shaft. You wind it once more. You listen to it breathe. The light turns again. Your shadow stretches across the lantern room as the beam passes behind you. Bright, dark, a steady pulse, like breathing, like the sea, like you. Near midnight, the storm begins to soften. Rain lessens. Wind steadies into its usual hum. The sea remains restless but less violent. The horizon remains black but calmer. You stand with one hand resting lightly on the metal frame, feeling the vibration of rotation. The flame burns clean. The glass remains clear. The system holds. The light turns again. Below you, reefs remain hidden, unchanged, patient. But tonight they take nothing, because the beam cuts across them, because sailors see, because you climbed, because you cleaned, because you wound the gears, because you listened to them breathe. The storm fades into distance. Only wind remains. It has not stopped. It rarely does. The sea continues its endless motion. The beam continues its endless arc. You sit briefly on the small wooden stool beside the mechanism, watching, listening. The light turns again. And as night stretches onward, you know that before dawn you will extinguish the flame. You will polish the glass. You will check the oil. You will climb the stairs again. Because the wind has not stopped. It rarely does. And the light must always turn, again and again. You sit beside the lantern room window. The stool is simple, wood worn smooth by years of waiting. The storm has passed, but the wind remains. It presses softly against the glass. Not angry now, just present. It has not stopped. It rarely does. The beam continues its slow rotation. White light sweeping outward, then darkness, then light again. You no longer count the seconds. Your body knows the rhythm. The mechanism hums beneath your feet. The weight continues its steady descent. You will wind it again soon, but not yet. For now, you simply listen. The wind, the gears, the distant sea striking rock. The light turns again. You think of tomorrow, not in detail, not with effort, just the shape of it. You will wake before sunrise. You will sit in the small stone cottage. You will warm your hands around a tin cup of tea. You will open the ledger, wind direction, sea condition, visibility. You will climb step after step. The sea waits below. You will polish the glass panels, polish, turn, wipe, again. You will trim the wick, refill the oil, wind the gears. You will listen to them breathe. And when night falls, you will light the lamp. The flame will catch slowly. The lens will begin to move. The beam will sweep across black water. And somewhere beyond your sight, a sailor will count the seconds between flashes and trust you, though he does not know you. The lantern room feels smaller now, quieter. The storm has moved farther out to sea. Only the steady wind remains. It hums through cracks in the stone. It brushes against the tower. It has not stopped. It rarely does. The sea below continues its endless motion. Surge, retreat, surge, retreat. Unseen reefs wait patiently beneath dark water, but tonight they remain only rock. Because the light turns, again. Your eyes grow heavier not from exhaustion but from rhythm, from repetition, from the steady pulse of white across glass. Bright, dark, bright, dark. You rest your hand against the cool metal frame. Feel the faint vibration of movement. Everything is working. Everything is as it should be. You are unseen, but essential. Soon the eastern horizon will pale. Morning will return in soft gray. You will lower the wick. The flame will shrink, flicker, fade. Smoke will curl briefly upward. You will open the hatch. Climb down the spiral, step after step. The sea will wait below, and the day will begin again. The wind presses gently against the glass. The beam continues across black water. The tower stands firm against the cliff. The gears breathe softly beneath you. The light turns again, again. The wind has not stopped. It rarely does. The light turns across the dark sea. And tomorrow, you will climb the stairs again.